Good evening, delegates. I call the ministerial meeting in response to economic recovery post-COVID-19. Welcome to this meeting. I'm your chair, Ajeng Permani Galuki. We will begin this session with the roll call. Delegates are reminded to respond with present. Delegates of Brunei Darussalam, present. Delegates of Cambodia,
Present.
delegates of Indonesia,
Present.
delegates of Laos,
Present.
delegates of Malaysia,
Present.
delegates of Myanmar,
Present.
delegates of Philippines,
Present.
delegates of Singapore,
Present.
delegates of Thailand,
Present.
and delegates of Vietnam.
Present.
We will now proceed with opening speech. Delegates will be called. First, please allow me to deliver our speech. Your Excellencies, Finance Minister of ASEAN. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a negative impact on global economics. Brunei Darussalam declined in 2020 by 1.2% after growing 3.9% in 2019. According to Brunei Darussalam, ASEAN's member states have also seen a decline in economic growth. Restriction on activities, both domestic and other countries, affect declining economic activities and economic growth. Seeing the increasing number of COVID-19 cases ASEAN, emerge of several new variants of the coronavirus, we found a need to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic of the COVID to the financial of Brunei Darussalam and ASEAN. The Minister of Finance in Brunei Darussalam has taken several to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. With declining economic growth and growing unemployment, the government has played an important role in helping us overcome the impact of the crisis. The Minister of Finance provides financial support and supports the micro, medium, and small business sector to, to reduce the economic impact. Also, to ease the financial burden, it was carried out by providing 6 months of incentive on April 1 to the affected sectors and additional financial incentive worth 250 million Brunei dollar as well as fiscal incentive. The stimulus package of Brunei totaled 550 million Brunei dollar. Brunei provide an injection of 15 million Brunei dollar or 10.5 million US dollar. In the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, Brunei Darussalam proposed 10 priority economic deliverables under the pillar of economy, ASEAN Economic Community with the theme, we care, we prepare, we prosper. The priority economic deliverables are divided into three strategies. There are recovery, digitalization, and sustainable. Recovery is by ensuring the recovery of the post-COVID-19 pandemic area with a focus on clarifying rules regarding on tariff measures and facilitating investment into the region. developing a tourism sector as well as opening market and new partnership for ASEAN, in particular with the launch of negotiation for a possible ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement. Digitalization is by utilizing new technologies with a focus on providing a safe, secure, and harmonious e-commerce environment and digital ecosystem within the region, as well as sustainability is a growth inclusive, sustainable economy in ASEAN with a focus on providing guidance with support for micro, medium, and small enterprise, sustainable energy transition, and cooperating in mineral sector. We hope that our allies in ASEAN can consider this proposal in the face of COVID-19 so that we can recover from the recession that we have been experiencing so far. Thank you. We are now giving opportunity to minister from Cambodia to deliver their speech.
Thank you, Chair, Honorable Delegates, and Excellencies. We would like to address our position in viewing the issue of economic recovery post-COVID-19 in Southeast Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, a pandemic is engulfing the global world where all aspects of our lives are significantly affected and are also experiencing a considerable decline. We, Cambodia, have indeed succeeded in suppressing the number of transmission of the virus so that it does not spread so quickly. But even so, the impact given by this pandemic is still very much felt, especially in economic and tourism fields. Our country's economy has experienced a significant decline, and we are sure that all countries present here also feel the same way what we feel. Tourism, which must be closed temporarily, export and import goods, which must be temporarily stopped, and also the economy, which is experiencing a decline, will certainly disturb the welfare of our society. Economic activities that are usually carried out are also disrupted due to this global pandemic. The tourism sector is one of the contributing sectors to our economy, but with this pandemic, the sector must experience a very rapid decline and end with our economy declining. Cambodia is slowly recovering by seeking economic gains this year, which previously in 2020 contracted by 3.1%. The recovery has not been evenly distributed, but we are doing it gradually so that we can achieve a complete recovery in all areas. For that, we invite all countries who are present here to get up together in order to restore the economic sector and others after this pandemic. Through ASEAN, we would like to propose strengthening cooperation among all member countries so that they can work together and help each other in recovering from the effects of this global pandemic. Our priority right now is to bounce back after the pandemic that has hit so far. Through ASEAN, we believe we can work hand in hand to restore our respective countries as well as maintain and manage an environment conducive to peace and stability in the region to support regional prosperity. Thank you.
Okay, because of Minister, we will now have to the next minister, the minister from Indonesia. You have the floor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May the peace, mercy, and blessing of God be with you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and the honorable delegates, Excellency, and delegate of its country from ASEAN, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Indonesia policy in facing economic challenge as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic have been designed to prevent significant inflation for Indonesian economy, which would be very risky in the event of large economic inflation during a pandemic. Indonesia is designing five-step strategy, namely maintaining volatile food inflation in the range of 3 until 5%, strengthening central government coordination and controlling inflation through national coordination meeting, strengthening synergies between ministry or agency with support from regional government in order to make the 2021 TPIP program a success, strengthening national food security by increasing production, maintaining the availability of the government rice reserves in the framework of the supply and price stabilization program. This is completed by Indonesian in order to maintain and support the Indonesian economy, which is one of the largest in ASEAN. This effort is expected to increase people purchasing power as part of the implementation of the National Economy Recovery Program. Low and stable inflation is expected to support economic recovery and significant economic growth and strive toward an advanced Indonesia. On behalf of Indonesia government, Indonesia expressed its deep concern over the rapidly deteriorating situation in Southeast Asia, while thanking to Brunei Darussalam for convening this session. On a occasion like this, Indonesia requires bold and commitment step for ASEAN members country to encounter the economic challenge set by this pandemic. Where does Indonesia want mobility and macro financial policy and structure due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which limits the scope of the economy due to the lockdown? ASEAN countries must perform what is necessary and use all available policy followed by the targeted support to be considered as an economic impact and social damage from the COVID-19 pandemic. ASEAN countries must be able to maintain the productive capacity of the economy, keep supply running, and take advantage of the technology and digital shift on the digital platform to help reduce productivity in the economy now and in the future. As a learning and work facilitate remotely, increasing the response of the regional pandemics, strengthening social safety nets, and being facilitated remotely, increasing response to the regional pandemic, strengthening social safety net, and redoubling the determination to advance integration regional. This need to be done in order to escape the terrible dangers of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in the ASEAN economic sector. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Minister. We are now giving opportunity to Minister from Laos to deliver their speech.
Thank you, Chair, the Honorable Delegates, and Excellencies. We would like to address our position in viewing in the issues of economic recovery post-COVID-19 in Southeast Asia. Concerning the situation of COVID-19 pandemic, we believe that economy will set to recover in 2021 at medium term, provided the impact of the pandemic is contained and business can resume with trading partners. We already took action to prevent the spread of and control the disease to protect population because our governments are aware that the measures we impose will impact business and people's life. We have proposed several measures to accelerate economic recovery, including tax reliefs and deferrals to business, monetary expansion policy, also credit moratorium. The proposed several measures and relief policy several measures such as the first one like to smooth the household consumptions, personal income tax for employee earning 5 million per month until from April to June already exempted, and then to assure a household affordability and essential items to prevent from COVID-19 tariffs and relevant fees for imported items already exempted. After that, to support the business sector, tax payment for COVID-19 affected business and loose monetary policy deferred done. The Bank of Laos has requested to commercial banks to reduce interest on loans, extend new loans to business, and carry out loan restructuring for business that are first impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Although support has not reached many companies, it is not the government's direct support, through through commercial banks voluntary. And lastly, to stimulate the economic growth and promote law, our government uh, SMA fund has injected 100 billion KIP in financing for SMEs in the form of long-term low interest loans through commercial banks. Therefore, the implementation of several measures to accelerate economic recovery is also under our monitoring to see the effectiveness. And these forms of support are essential mechanisms in giving business to the opportunity people need to rebuilding and foster economic recovery. Thank you, Your Excellencies.
Thank you, Minister. We will now have the next minister, the minister from Malaysia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The Honorable Delegates and Excellencies, today I am here to discuss about Malaysian financial recovery strategy during the COVID-19 in Southeast Asia. The primary vision of the Malaysia Ministry of Finance is to lead a strategic authority that enables finance and economic outcome to ensure sustainable growth and proper prosperity for the people and the nation. Its objectives are to ensure sustainable economic growth, strengthen national competitiveness and economic resilience, ensure effectiveness and prudent financial management, pursue a more equitable distribution of national wealth, and improve the people's quality and life and welfare. This effort was made because Malaysia fiscal policy saw the domestic financial condition experienced a drastic decline happened in 2009. In 2020, the unemployment rate increased, but in the 2021, the unemployment rate had begun to decline, which means that Malaysia fiscal condition was improving. The state financial condition is expected to program with a lot cooperation with developed countries such as United States, especially in terms on health. Despite progress, Malaysia remains very uh, of the state budget difficult due to unstable global conditions. Malaysia financial recovery strategy during the COVID-19 outbreak is to reopen the economy and give permission to citizens to return their work, to restore economic condition for every community with new habits. The Minister of Finance seeks to re-increase the trade sector to support economic growth in 2021, where in previous years. In the economy, reality experienced increases due to COVID-19. The major impact of COVID-19, the finance minister seeks to make six main strategies in the process of the developing economic recovery, namely resolve, resilient, restart, recovery, revitalize, and reform. Thank you for excellency.
Thank you, Minister. We will now have the next minister, the minister from Myanmar. The floor is yours. The minister of Myanmar. The floor is yours. Okay, because of unstable connection, maybe we will know the next minister, the minister from Philippines. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, the honorable delegates and excellencies. We would like to address our positions during the issue of economic recovery post-COVID-19 in Southeast Asia. Since the Second World War, the most profound global economic recession has occurred due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. It has affected various sectors, leading to lots of downturns, including health maintenance, financial stability, and disrupting social well-being. Exceptional policies are however required to overcome adversity to move forward towards recovery, which will determine the economic and social prospects of the coming decade. However, the economic recovery has been uneven across countries. For the Philippines itself, the efforts to reform the economy in the post-pandemic era are to encourage disciplined fiscal policies by utilizing funding resources accumulated. Cooperating with Congress, we take several steps, such as passing laws to further economic liberalization, establishing institutional reforms in the tax system, and strengthening the Philippines capital market. As of June 2020, first, the Department of Finance has managed to raise a total of 16.26 billion US dollar in budgetary support financing from the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and other state financial institutions. As much as 95% of the total budget has been disbursed to the Philippines government. We can track the remaining 2 billion US dollar in grant and credit financing to support numerous projects to be applied by agencies involved for COVID-19 response. The project's arrangement is manifested in the Bayanihan Act, which is designed to support the healthcare system, providing subsidies for low-income households, and extending credit to small businesses and critical sectors such as health and agriculture. The regulation was enacted at the end of March 2020 and has effectively improved public spending growth. Eventually, this act had a positive result on the Philippines economy, with an increase in GDP from 19% in the first quarter of 2020 to 23% in the same period in 2021. As we advance, our administration will focus on tight fiscal control to maintain economic stability and amid pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We will now have the next minister, the minister from Philippines. The floor is yours. The minister of Singapore.
Thank you, Madam Chair, the Honorable Delegates, and Excellency Minister of Finance of ASEAN. Regarding on the problem of economic recovery post-COVID-19 in Southeast Asia, I would like to address the position of Ministry of Finance regarding the issues. For the past year, Singapore has maintained a stable economic performance, but the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus that first appeared in Singapore in mid-2020 has affected our economic stability throughout this pandemic time. The fact that all kind of physical interaction are limited because of the pandemic give the reason for the lack of industrial, manufacture, service production, and many more that have maintained effect on slowing of the economic growth of Singapore. Knowing that this pandemic is still going and we have been seeing a new and far more dangerous variety of the virus, we find the urge that there need to be a response to the COVID-19 effect of the finance of Singapore. The Ministry of Finance of Singapore has made some move to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, looking that we face the worst recession that ever happened in Singapore, which overall budget deficit for financial year 2020 is the largest since Singapore independence at $64.9 billion or 13.9% of the GDP. Luckily, our quick response played a critical role in helping us contain the impact of the crisis. Our early findings show that the combination of the fiscal, monetary, and transitional measure mounted as a whole government response has helped avoid a worse recession, avoid job losses, and mitigate inequality. We also tried to adapt to the COVID-19 pandemic by slowly reopen our economy, shifted our measure for containment to restructuring, while also continuing our support for Singaporeans, workers, and businesses. The Ministry of Finance also has start a recovery strategy for the COVID-19 post-pandemic effect with the COVID-19 resilience package. They will have set aside $11 billion to assure success. This package has three main points. The first point is to safeguard the health of Singaporeans. This content such as vaccinating our people, containing the spread of the virus, and safely reopening public health. The second point is continuous support for workers and businesses where needed. This content such as introduce the job support scheme or GSS with a clear goal to protect jobs and to find help firm retain local worker, facilitate workers moving to job and growth areas, temporary bridging loan program, and the enhanced enterprise finance scheme. And lastly, funds the COVID-19 recovery grant, which support workers who lost their jobs or experience significant income loss. The third point is to provide more targeted support for the worst hit sector. The sector are the aviation sector, the land transport sector, the art, culture, and sports sector. We will provide this sector financially so they can survive and grow better in this hard time. These strategies to recover from the economic recession from COVID-19 in our country have proven significantly successful by looking at the first quarter of 2021. Singapore has increased their GDP from suffering 13.9% decrease to 1.3% increase. By looking at this, we would like to suggest our allies from the ASEAN somewhat adapt our strategy to face COVID-19 so we can recover from this recession that we all experience in this few years. We would also love to help our allies with financial support and supplies to be able to fight this pandemic together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. The next minister, the minister from Thailand, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, the honorable delegates and excellencies. I would like to address our position in viewing the issue of economic recovery in the post-COVID-19 in Southeast Asia. As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has hit the whole world for 1.5 years. This pandemic has entered the second wave, even the third wave in several countries, especially Thailand. Thailand can be categorized as a country that has successfully overcome the COVID-19 pandemic. Until April 12, there was a spike in cases due to the Songkran New Year holiday and the rapid transmission of the virus variant B.1.1.7. The COVID-19 pandemic certainly impacts all sectors, including the financial, tourism, and household sectors. It can be concluded that the pandemic has had a negative impact, especially on the economic, and has hampered the economic development of each country and globally. Thailand has experienced a 9.1% decline in GDP in 2020, followed by another economic contraction in the first quarter of 2021 by minus 2.6% due to the second wave of COVID-19. Moreover, the increase in cases due to the third wave gives my hopes of achieving the World Bank forecast of economic growth of 3.4%, now down to 2.2%. However, as the Minister of Finance, I will make every effort to restore Thailand's economic growth, at least by achieving the economic growth forecast by Bank of Thailand of 1.8%. The measure that Thailand uses can be adopted by other countries in Southeast Asia or vice versa. Economic recovery begins with overcoming the problem of employment, unemployment, and poverty. Employment in all sectors increased by 2.5%, except for the agricultural sector, which fell until 10.9%. The return of global demand for goods export increased employment opportunities, where previously the export and import flow had to stop at the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic. This indicates that the unemployment rate has increased due to the pandemic is slowly decreasing. Meanwhile, the poverty rate also decreased from 7.4% in 2020 to 7% in 20 and 21. As Thailand Minister of Finance, it is my responsibility to monitor and regulate any development related to the country's economy. In order to achieve that, it is also my responsibility to assist communities affected by the pandemic because people welfare will be related to economic activity and economic growth. Around 63% of the population in Thailand have received assistance and social insurance allocated by the government in 2020. This year, the Minister of Finance will provide a fiscal response package of 500 billion Thai baht. Some of the steps I will emphasize more to increase economic growth are to complete vaccination of 70% population by the end of 2021 and increase the global trajectory to improve the international tourism sector by implementing health protocols because the tourism sector is the primary source of GDP in Thailand. There are still many steps that we can adopt for other countries here. Let us try and work together to achieve one vision to restore the national and global economy, especially in Southeast Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We will now have the next minister, the minister from Vietnam. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair and honorable delegates and excellencies. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID pandemic that is happening all over the world has had a tremendous impact on the international world. There's educational, business, and communication institution in the world has been closed as the form of country effort to suppress the spread of virus which has claimed many lives. This pandemic has not only had a big impact on small countries, but even the countries that already have established government system have also felt significant impact from the COVID-19 pandemic, one of which is Vietnam. Vietnam was among the first countries hit by the pandemic because Vietnam narrowly border with China, where the COVID-19 started. Nevertheless, Vietnam was also among the first few countries that had contained the virus by May 2020. Recently, Vietnam has been considered as one of the most successful countries on controlling the spread of COVID-19 and its impact on the economic sector. Foreign investment, export, and domestic consumption have been identified as the three main pillars for economic recovery in Vietnam. The Ministry of Finance of Vietnam has handled it quickly in order to carry out post-COVID-19 recovery in economic sector. Despite Vietnam's recorded urban employment rate soaring 33%, reaching nearly 4.5% at the end of quarter two, it also saw GDP growth of 1.8% in quarter one in 2020, representing the country's lowest semi-annual increase for decades, largely due to the impact of the pandemic. In terms of post-COVID-19 recovery, Vietnam has taken major steps, such as by setting aside the money that was mobilized and fiscal tools for supporting affected business and people, extend taxes relief, direct maintenance support since April. By the end of June, approximately 18% of 62 trillion Dong Vietnam welfare package has been taught. And Vietnam is also focusing on state spending on creating jobs, carrying out labor-intensive development such as repairing roads, railways, and other infrastructure. Besides that, Vietnam commercial banks has also eliminated, cut, or delay interest payment on loans to companies. Moreover, Vietnam is also increasing its export activity, especially in the technology sector, which has big influence on Vietnam. Therefore, for all countries who's been affected by this pandemic on the economy sector, I suggest that further increase export activity and increase the potential of their own country. And besides that, I hope that the government can also more focus on small business by preventing tax breaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Discussion. First hand, if you will, be on the speaker list and keep it up until I have called your country. Okay, we will have the discussion session. First, we will start a speaker list to discuss the issue. Please raise hand if you will be on the speaker list and keep it up until I have called your country. Okay, the minister from Philippines, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the honorable delegates. On the behalf of Republic of Philippines, we would like to state that to control the negative impact of COVID-19 on financial and economic stability, it is principal for us to arrange an effective macro, well as structural and social policies to cushion economic and social impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Furthermore, we must keep the supply chains going, especially the supply chains of essential medical supplies to ensure the flow of vital medical equipment and also agricultural products. This can be realized by keeping the Asian market open to allow the flows of production and consumption in each country to continue in order to preserve regional integration and economic stability. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We will now have the next minister, the Minister of Singapore. The floor is yours.
As one of the country that uh, successfully have proven significant progress on the recovery of economic in our countries, I would like to deliver that all of the countries of ASEAN could adopt our package that have three main points, which is to safeguard the health of of the people first by doing vaccinating the people, and then contain the spread of the virus and safely reopening the public health first. And the second point is to support for worker and business so they can move forward and help the economic of our countries. And the last one is to provide more support for the worst hit sector, such as the aviation sector uh, in every countries, the land transport sector as well, and the art, culture, and sports sectors that will help the economic as well in the each of our country in Asian. Uh, that's all I would like to say. That hopefully that all country can adopt this, and hopefully that the economic will be better after uh, each of every one country adopt these strategies. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Ministers of Finance of ASEAN. Is there any discussion more? Okay, if there are no discussion more, uh, I will from Brunei Darussalam. There are we have 10 priority of economic deliverables under the pillars of ASEAN Economic Community with the theme "We care, we prepare, we prosper." The priority economic deliverables are defined into three strategies. There are recovery, digitalization, and sustainability. Recovery is by ensuring the recovery of post-COVID-19 pandemic with a focus on clarifying rules regarding non-tariff measures and facilitating investment into the region, developing the tourism sector, as well as opening markets and new partnerships for ASEAN. Digitalization using new technologies with a focus on providing a safe, secure, and harmonious e-commerce environment and digital ecosystem within the region, as well as sustainability is a growth, inclusive, and sustainable economy in ASEAN with a focus on providing guidance and support for micro, medium, and small enterprise, sustainable energy transition, and cooperating in the mineral sectors. This strategy, these strategies is from Brunei Darussalam. Thank you. The ministers, is there any discussion more? Ministers, is there any discussion more from this issue? Okay. The Minister of Vietnam, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. As we know, this pandemic is must be carried out together in regional investment. Seeing the changing socio-cultural condition due to COVID-19, we cannot deny that various investment sectors are starting to change towards digital, and we must to take advantage of it. And we will, I think, we should focus on developing digital subsector such as economic and digital banking in preparing for post COVID-19. And we estimate that by 2025, the stretch of our digital economy will be at five 552 US dollar, and therefore I think we also advance all of the country to prepare for the potential and stretch of their respective country in the field of digital economy, such as connectivity, payment, skill, logistic, policy, and regulation. And we hope that we will be able to continue to reach out other post-COVID-19 recovery and preparation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Is there any discussion more, ministers? If there are nothing discussion more, I will read the draft resolution from this meeting. The first is Brunei Darussalam propose 10 priority economic deliverables under the pillar of the ASEAN Economic Community with the theme We Care, We Prepare, We Prosper, which divide into three strategies that are recovery, digitalization, and sustainability. The second is through ASEAN, we would like to propose strengthening cooperating among all member countries so that we can work together and help each other in recovering from the effect of this global pandemic. The third, ASEAN countries must be able to maintain capacity of the economy, keep supply running, take advantage of technology and digital shift on digital platforms to help reduce productivity in the economy. The next is ASEAN has four main points. The first point is to safeguard the health. The second point is to continue support for workers and business and promote small, medium enterprise where needed. The third point is to provide more target support for the world seed sector. And the last is improve the international tourism sector by implementing health protocols because of tourism sector. And the last is we would like to state that to conquer the negative impact of COVID-19 at financial and economic stability, it is principal for us to arrange an effective macro, financial, and structural policy. The decline of economic performance on many manufacturing and service sector can be minimized through monetary, financial, and fiscal tools, as well as structural and social policies to cushion economic and social impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Furthermore, we must keep the supply chains going, especially the supply chains of essential medical supplies to ensure the flow of vital medical equipment and also agricultural products. This can be realized by keeping the ASEAN market open to allow the flows of production and consumption in each country to continue in order to preserve regional integration and okay, thank you, Minister of Finance of ASEAN. You can back to the main session.